He carried the ember back to the mountains, its light guiding him through the storms. In the heart of the Emberwind Mountains, where the skies were veined with streaks of molten orange and the ground rumbled with the pulse of ancient lava rivers, there lived a dragon unlike any other. His name was Ashwick, and he had a secret he couldn't bear to share. Ashwick was terrified of fire. For most dragons, fire was as natural as breathing. Hatchlings lit their first sparks as a rite of passage, and elders boasted flames so fierce they could melt stone. But Ashwick, he couldn't even light a candle without trembling. The roar of a flame, the crackle of embers, it all made his scales shiver and his heart race. So Ashwick avoided it. He stayed far from the blazing caves where the other dragons held their fiery gatherings. He practiced his flight skills instead, soaring higher and faster than any dragon in the realm, hoping no one would notice what he lacked. One day, the Emberwind Elder summoned all the dragons to the great cavern. The Elder's horns gleamed like obsidian, and their fiery breath illuminated the towering cavern walls. "Dragons of Emberwind!" boomed the Elder, his voice echoing like thunder. "Our mountain is in danger. The Heartfire, the ancient flame that fuels our land, is fading. Without it, our skies will dim and our rivers will freeze. One brave dragon must rekindle the Heartfire by flying to the infernal peak and relighting the eternal ember." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The infernal peak was the most treacherous place in the mountains, surrounded by storms of molten ash and guarded by fierce flame spirits. "I will go," said a massive crimson dragon, his scales glinting like polished rubies. "And I," said another, her emerald wings stretched wide. One by one, dragons volunteered, their confidence blazing as bright as their flames. Ashwick stood at the edge of the cavern, his claws scraping the stone floor. He wanted to help, but how could he face the Heartfire when he couldn't even face his own flames? That night, Ashwick wandered to the cliffs overlooking the darkening sky. The fading Heartfire cast a dim glow, and for the first time, Ashwick realized how much he loved the warmth of the mountains. The fiery skies were his home, even if he feared the flames that shaped them. "Can't sleep either?" came a voice. Ashwick turned to see a small dragon hatchling, her scales shimmering like moonlight. She was clutching a glowing ember in her claws. I heard the elders talking," the hatchling said, her voice trembling. "If the Heartfire goes out, will we lose our home?" Ashwick's chest tightened. He didn't know how to answer. The hatchling looked up at him, her eyes wide. "You're the best flyer in the mountains. Maybe you can save it." Her words stirred something in Ashwick. Maybe he couldn't breathe fire, but he could fly faster and farther than anyone else. He wasn't powerless. "I'll try," he said, surprising himself. The journey was as perilous as the elders had warned. Ashwick soared through storms of molten ash, dodging fiery whirlwinds and rivers of lava. His wings ached from the heat, and his heart pounded with every roar of the inferno. At last, he reached the infernal peak. The eternal ember sat atop a jagged spire, surrounded by dancing flame spirits. Their fiery forms flickered like shadows, and their eyes burned with curiosity. "You're no fire breather," one spirit hissed, circling Ashwick. "How will you light the Heartfire?" "I'll find a way," Ashwick said, his voice steadier than he felt. The spirits laughed, their flames crackling. "Prove it, little dragon." And then, deep within him, he felt it, a spark. Ashwick opened his mouth, and a small but steady flame flickered out. The spirits paused, their laughter silenced. "You found your fire," one of them said, a note of awe in their voice. They parted, allowing him to approach the eternal ember. With a deep breath, Ashwick lit the ember. It blazed brightly, sending a wave of warmth through the peak. The fire leapt to his claws, and for the first time, he didn't flinch. He carried the ember back to the mountains, its light guiding him through the storms. When Ashwick returned, the Heartfire roared back to life, its golden flames illuminating the skies once more. The dragons cheered, their roars echoing through the mountains. "You did it," the hatchling said, her eyes shining with pride. "I guess I did," Ashwick said, a small smile spreading across his face. The elders approached, their expressions softened. "You've shown us that bravery isn't about being fearless, but about facing what scares you most. You are a true dragon of Emberwind." From that day on, Ashwick's name was spoken with reverence, not just for saving the mountains, but for proving that even the smallest spark could ignite a flame.